Hello?
Hey girl.
You guys will not believe this.
No, I don't want to touch on
Told you guys I fall in love fast.
The look on your face, and you're like, ooh,
very healthy to have female friendships.
and
And yeah, I do want
completely
to get married
ghosts
again. And
me
I
on
love
this
that
So
effing
finding
both
that
of
island.
us
balance
Still
of I didn't
desire to
have
get
this
married.
yet
were
where
Super
we're
like,
really
get rid
stoked.
of
having
toxic
Wasn't
sex.
people
ever
in
really
the
into
beginning. Welcome back.
To three-way call.
with Britt Fallon Star. Today, ladies, I wanted to talk about a little spicy topic, prenups. And how everybody, because I don't even know how you guys feel about a prenup. What are what are your thoughts? Britt, let's start with you.
Oh gosh, okay. I don't know how I feel. My first thought is no. Well, with my ex-husband, it was a no because I was kind of like, that's rude. Like, what?
Well, back up. Tell us how that conversation even came about. Was it later in the relationship? Was it early on?
It was later. And I don't think we ever had a conversation, to be honest. I think
Okay.
it was like brought up, and I was like, I don't really like that idea. And then we never talked about it, and he was like, no, we don't have to do it.
Do you remember how he kind of brought it to you? Like what he said?
About having one?
Mhm.
No, again, it really was not a conversation. I think someone in the friend group did have one, and so he was like, he brought it up in that way. And I was like,
Like,
and
we
then,
should
yeah,
get
like,
one type of thing, or
yeah, like, oh, we would have to talk about this and that. And I was like, we would. But like now I've heard that they can be beneficial for each other
hmm
because it can like you can put what kind of whatever you want in that.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think, depending on what that looked like, I wouldn't be necessarily opposed to it.
Okay.
I would definitely make sure like I am protected though.
hmm
How so?
Well, financially protected, obviously, for one, because when you are in a relationship where that person is the provider, has chosen to be, by the way, the provider, right? Like,
Yes, yes, 100%.
and then they're no longer the provider, it's like, okay, well, whatever. You're like, okay, well, I just was in this because, well, I wasn't in this because, but like
We
that was
both chose it.
both
Yeah.
chose that, and now like I'm just screwed
hmm
because I chose that. So financially, for sure. And then I think a big thing I've learned, my like being like just raised this way, was I should always have something in my name, and
hmm
I didn't.
Mm.
And I was always like very subconscious, or just actually consciously, I was always like, I need something in my name. I need something in my name. Like even my car, the only reason I have it is because I was like, I want my name on it. So that was the only thing that I
Mm.
had. And now I have, my car. But um, I want to be on the mortgage or whatever. Like I want my name needs to be on something.
hmm
Yeah, absolutely.
Star.
So I love this topic because what, 3, 4 years ago, I was having this conversation.
Mhm.
So a little backstory for our listeners. My husband was previously married for 22-ish years, something like that. And so, yeah, very long time. And it didn't end so amicably, but he was very, very generous. I think they both worked for his company, their company, I guess. And so, the split happened. They had an agreement, and then basically the agreement changed. So I think with that situation, Paul also, wanted to go into a second marriage because he's like, well, this is number two, right? So first of all, I don't really want that to happen again. And also, I want to protect you from, whatever I've got going on with my thing and my old business and yada yada. So I really at first was very much like, how dare you? And then I was like, but the level of protection. Because I bought my first house in
Mhm.
my own name, right?
Mhm.
And so that's been also really big in my family to always have, especially because I come from such a long line of divorced people. My family is so big on making sure whatever you brought to the table, you protect it as yours
Mhm.
because you want to make sure it's not split, in half of
Mhm.
whatever it is. It could be a lot, it could be little, whatever it is. What's yours is yours. And so then I start to think, okay, well, I'm being protected from, and you're being protected, but also it's more than just about I think that word protection is a good word, but also I think alignment in terms of what are we both bringing to the table and having that conversation of how are we gonna go about this future together? Because finance is one of the top two reasons why people get
Mhm.
divorced, right? So just I think being responsible and having that conversation, like we are at two totally different places in our lives. I was 27 or 28 when we met. Paul was like 45, I think. So his career is well more established. So I've come a long way from what the hell to I actually am pro prenup. I think for all of us, whether you're a man, woman, young, old,
Mhm.
I think it's almost necessary now. And I love that you brought this up, Fallon, because I was listening to the Dumois podcast. She had on a couple of experts, I'd say. I'm going to send you guys the episode. And they were both, so one of them is a entertainment divorce attorney. She's worked with Kim K and a whole bunch of big names.
Mhm.
And then the other gal is the owner of this like new website company for prenups to help, I guess, people. I don't know if it's specifically for women, but it's to help young couples really kind of like organize what it is that I think it's for women to like what they're going into. And she said 30 or 40% of women in their 30s now have a prenup. Because I think back in the day, it used to be more taboo. But
Mhm.
now women are working more than ever. So they also want to protect their assets and what they bring, what we bring to the table as well. Just so you don't have to build an empire and then 50% of that empire is like, if anything ever goes south, which there's a 50% chance it will. Not that I don't, I wish everyone well, but just saying the
This
data.
statistic.
Data. So yeah, I we have one, and I actually I'm grateful for it.
Okay, good. Was it pretty easy for you guys to come to like the same conclusion on a prenup, or were there some things that you're like, honey, this has got to change, or no, like we got to tweak this, or like, do you remember anything like that?
Hmm. I think probably the biggest thing for me was spousal support. I want to say that's in there is there will be no spousal support. So I was like, damn, you're gonna do me like that, hun? But I know who I married, and it's not like if anything ever happens, going to be like, you are SOL, hun. You are out on your own. He would be very much like, what can I do to help you, to make sure your life doesn't go from, let's pretend that, well, actually, in real life, I mean, he does make significantly more than I do. So he's not just going to like leave me out here to, dry. But that one did make me kind of nervous. And
Okay,
then
so did you try to talk to him and be like, hey, like, can we maybe compromise on this, or like,
no, no, because at the same time, I fully believe in what I'm capable of. That's kind of what reminded me of like, it's gonna be fine. Because I have my own business and
right.
I also don't want to like rely on you for that thing. But if kids come into the picture, that's where everything for us kind of changes.
Okay, and that's in the prenup?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha.
Does it work both ways? If it's no spousal support to you, is it also no spousal support to him?
Yes, good point. Exactly. So let's say like the business blows up, we're doing 7, 8 figures in dream life.
Yeah.
And then same thing, I won't have to give him a single penny, right?
Okay.
Yeah, girl, what's your take?
I well, obviously with my ex-husband, like we didn't have a prenup, but like neither one of us had assets, so it just wasn't really necessary. So I feel like if someone has something like to lose, I guess, then I understand, but then I don't know. I guess my feelings have changed because at first I was like, no, like I would take it offensively if someone were to ask me for a prenup.
Hmm.
Like when I was talking about it like with my ex, not my ex-husband, but like my last ex, I was like pretty offended by the conversation, but granted, he had also, was going through a divorce where they didn't have a prenup. He literally made everything. She didn't work, like he had all these assets in his name and stuff, and she basically was taking them all from him. So he's like really scarred in that way. So
Yeah.
it's like obviously like I would have to put myself in their shoes and be like, look, I totally get it. Like I wouldn't want to get scarred that way either. I mean, granted, we didn't have any assets and I'm still scarred from our divorce. You know what I mean? I didn't take a single thing. I left everything for him because I just didn't want to freaking deal with it. You
Hmm.
know? And I'm not talking like I'm just talking like we lived in a 3-bedroom home and all the furniture, everything, like I just left everything.
Yeah. And your car was a huge hassle
Yeah, and
too.
he kept my car from me even though it was in my name, but that just goes to show how controlling it. He kept her money from me for 3 months.
Oh my
Like,
God.
yeah, that was the worst 3 months of my life. And so he didn't have a right to do any of that, but it's just me, against him. So what is little old me gonna do? I can only threaten to call the cops so many times to
Hmm.
for him to, bring my car and bring our money back. You know what I mean? Um, and it was also like I just would never fathom that he could be the person that he was. It's just one thing after and I could never fathom that he was going to keep our money from me or he was going to keep my car or you know what I mean? I my brain cannot comprehend someone like doing those things. You know what I mean? So it's like those were never any thoughts. But then
Yeah.
like looking back at it, I just yeah, I wish I don't know. I don't know if I could have changed anything, I guess, because technically half of everything was mine and half of everything was his, but it's like I had no authority to come and like take what's mine or, to get my car to get Armani. It's like it's me versus him. Like what the hell am I gonna do? I just was kind of
Is that you feel like because it was all in his name?
no, everything was in my name. Nothing,
Oh,
he
wow.
had
That's
awful credit. Everything was in my name.
wow.
So it was just more of what am I gonna go beat him up? Like what am I gonna do to get my car? You know what I mean? Like what can I do to go get my car? And he was telling me, if I ever see you in this neighborhood, like I'm gonna call the cops on you and get you arrested, which I know in the back of my mind, what's he gonna get me arrested for? But it's him
Dramatic.
instilling that fear in my head, like you're not allowed on this property. I removed your name from the lease. He's telling me these things. So I'm like, fuck, am I not allowed on? Am I gonna be? Can I be arrested for trespassing? I don't fucking know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a cop. I don't know.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why I really liked that episode because that type of education is now available for women who want to get married and but also want to have like or even I think during the divorce, we want to be able to be educated on both sides, like what is or what can be and what is and what's not, you
mhm.
know.
Yeah. And then he also, hired a lawyer for whatever reason he wanted to throw away his money on. I mean, what you're gonna hire a lawyer for what? What's a lawyer gonna do? And then so I have the lawyer calling me, like threatening me and like lying, and I know he's like lying to me about everything, just to try to scare me or get me to pay them or like all this stuff. You know what I mean? And I'm just like,
Yeah.
and I told him, I'm like, you seriously, like, you're a fucking idiot. You seriously got a lawyer for what? For what? I don't have anything. You don't either. Like, you were literally just wasting money. And so, guess what? Did I get a lawyer? No. So I went and got divorced and dealt with all that against him and his lawyer by myself. Because I'm like, I'm not, what do I need a lawyer for? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, no, you're an idiot. You're just wasting money. And just like he's literally that's how psychotic he was. He was literally wasting money to pay a lawyer to intimidate me as if
Hmm.
he couldn't get inside my brain anymore, you know? And obviously it worked, like it fucked me up, but it's like I'm still smart enough to know I don't need a lawyer. Like you have no rights. My name is on everything. What do you know what I mean? Like what are you gonna do? If anything, you're in the wrong. And that's why I just kept telling him, and that's why I just kept telling the lawyer, like, you're just lying. Like, no. Stop
Yeah.
telling me, you know everything's in my name, like, you know, whatever. So but yeah, side note, yeah, off topic a little bit. But that's just how crazy it can get, guys. And I'm just telling you for the listeners, we didn't have anything. We didn't have any assets, and that's what I had to deal with. So
Mhm.
imagine dealing with assets, you know what I mean? And oh God, it can get messy. And people always say you never know who you married until you divorce them. And I stand by that because I am
Yeah.
living proof of that. You never know. Like, I mean, yeah. So I think I am, for it. Protect yourself. Like, but make it fair. Like whatever I come in with, great, is mine. Whatever you come in with, great, it's yours. Whatever we build from here on out together, 50-50.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
And then yeah, obviously when kids are involved, like, of course I'm gonna want, child support for all that or whatever, or how do you guys feel about say, you marry somebody that's a lot more wealthy than you. And for however many years, and you become accustomed to that kind of lifestyle, and then you get divorced. Do you guys, like in your prenup, would you want to, because a lot of women or a lot of men too, because the women are the breadwinners these days, and then the guys are being like, well, I'm accustomed to this lifestyle and you're divorcing me, so I expect you to continue to make sure that I'm living the life that I was living with you. Do you guys believe in that? Like,
Well, I think to what you were saying about like what we build from here is ours, that's kind of like the goal. I mean, unless you're a celebrity and you both already have like a million other things. But for us coming together, I feel like, like we just bought this new house together, so as we experience life together and we acquire assets and things, that part of our prenup will be split between the two of us. And so our lifestyle, technically, that I'll be accustomed to, I should still be able to really live and have access to because everything then will be split. And I've always wanted to be a working mom, so I'll still have that. But yeah, so that's a great question though, because I know in certain situations, one of the parents they do give up that role, right, to be the home taker, whether it's the mom or the dad. And I think in that case, if you guys have a discussion, then adjustments, if it were me, would have to be made to the prenup. Like, because then if I give up my job and my job is taking care of our family, and not bringing in any of the income to be able to really, other than raising our beautiful kids, financially bring to the plate for these assets, then yeah, I mean, we'll have to make an addendum.
mm-hmm.
Point blank.
Oh, um, I'm gonna spin it on the masculine feminine dynamic and for me because um that healthy masculine man's gonna want to provide and lead and give a safe space, not just provide financially, emotionally, all of that. That all comes into play. And so that the woman can be in her feminine. I don't think a man excels as well without his woman,
Mm-hmm.
without the right woman, without the right fit. So to me, that is always going to be once we're together and I'm supporting you in that way and you are able to then excel, we are doing that together.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's me out there making the money or it's you, I'm still the one that's providing for you when you come home.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So to me, it doesn't matter like if it's financially I'm doing it or if it's emotionally, if it's I'm taking care of the kids, I'm I'm just gonna work. I mean, just personally speaking, I'm still gonna be doing what I want to do with my work. But, you know, I do think that if I'm providing you the safety and that comfort when you come home to be like, okay, and have the energy to go out and put more into your work,
Yeah.
and then you're reaping that benefit. We are reaping that benefit, you know?
Yeah. I love that spin. That's such a good point. Really, really solid point.
Yeah. Every king has a queen.
That's true. So would you expect him, so after you guys got divorced, like would you expect him to still continue to like make sure that you're living a comfortable lifestyle or
So like, are we talking about like if it's in the prenup kind of thing?
Mhm. Or just I mean, yeah. It I mean, I would think that you guys would want to put it in the prenup if you were to get divorced, like how is it going to be financially like for me, if you guys are
To maybe to some degree, but I think I agree like with stars that like anything we are building from here on is 50-50. But yeah, if I am taking a step back to provide for you in that way, yeah, then yes,
Mhm.
because now I've sacrificed something to
Right.
this way for you. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I would expect it in that scenario.
I agree. Yeah.
And honestly, it wouldn't even have to be to the level of, but enough, but more than what it would be without. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There would
Yeah.
have to be something there. Um, but yeah, that would be like the only scenario I feel.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. And I notice that a lot in like high profile couples, like or with athletes, for example. Like I've heard a lot of, athletes getting a divorce and then the wife of their kids is like, "Well, no, like just because you're leaving me doesn't mean I'm going to stop living the way we've been living for 10, 15, 20 years." So they're paying them monthly, a lump sum so they can continue to live that lifestyle. And then most of them will say like, "This is what the kids are used to." So
Mhm.
you divorce me, like they're still gonna get the same lifestyle. So, you know,
Hey, this is reminding me very Kevin Federline. Brittany had to pay that man up until last month.
That man is, but,
well, Kevin Federline, huh? Well,
and
it's oh, go ahead, Britt.
I was just gonna say it really isn't like I think that I don't like prenup or like all that because I don't like financial conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't want it to be like the biggest part of a relationship, but it is so big. So it's hard because it's like it impacts so much of the relationship, but it isn't something that I love to hone in on. So so while I say like yes, having that in the prenup in those scenarios is beneficial, I'm never gonna be like the woman that's like, oh, like you owe me all this money, like you know what I mean? Like it just
Exactly. Yeah.
so oh, like it just, yeah, I don't like that feeling. I don't want them to feel that way because I'm never getting married again for like, it's not gonna, if I get married again, it's not gonna be for money. Well, who knows? Because at this rate, like, you know what I mean? The fish in the sea are not fantastic. But no, so who knows? I won't say never, but that's not my goal. That's not my
Mm-hmm.
goal to like, oh, I'm gonna marry you because you can take care of me financially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so true. Yeah, so I thought of this topic because my girlfriend always talks to me about it. You guys know April, like but April's got, a lot of assets. She has a lot of things that she could lose, and she's in a serious relationship that most likely is going to lead to marriage,
Oh.
Yeah. And so, she always tells me like she's very stern on prenups. And the thing with him is, he makes more than her. Like he doesn't want her to work. He wants to just take care of her
Hmm.
like that's the way that they live their life like
Hmm.
but she they're kind of going back and forth because she loves to work
Hmm.
she enjoys it um So but she, like I said, she does have a lot to lose. And so she's like, even on her behalf, like she's like, absolutely, I would get a prenup. Like he could, tell me that he's going to put all these things in my name, pay for all these things, but she's like, I would still get a prenup, like just to protect myself. And like any girl that she talks to, she will always tell them, like, get a prenup, get a prenup. Like she's very, stern on that. And then so it just made me think. And then, so I started asking people at work like what they thought about it because I don't know, I guess, like you said, it was just so taboo, like
Hmm.
back in the day, and now it's just like more common than ever. And so, I work with mostly women and then just very few guys. And most of the girls I'm asking, of course, they're like, yeah, like, well, as long as, I'm taken care of or this and that, and then you get some that are triggered by it. Well, why would they want to you're just automatically thinking we're going to get divorced before we're even married. It goes to that mindset to some people, which is how I used to take it. I used to take it very personally,
Hmm.
so I get that. And then so I did ask like the few guys that we worked with, and they all were like, absolutely, like, hell yes, like I would get a prenup. But all the guys I asked who said they would get a prenup, they said if they had assets, they would get prenups. They're like, I don't have any assets. So they're like, honestly, no, I wouldn't care if we didn't have a prenup just because like I don't have anything.
Mhm.
And if they don't have anything either, then they're like, we wouldn't even worry about it. But if, I had something to lose, 100%, I would get a prenup. Um, and so I asked one guy and one very older guy with lots of relationship experience. He basically said that he would get a prenup because if your wife was like, say your wife's gonna leave you, he would want a prenup because he says typically when wives leave husbands, they already have another man.
Ooh.
Yeah. So he's like, they probably already have another man
Oh.
beside. So I would have a prenup so that they can't take anything from me because they're already
Ah.
somebody else. And then also another thing was that he also said most like when men and women are going through divorce, most men just want to be done with the divorce. They just want to get in, get out, get it finalized, move on with their lives. He goes, when the women are getting divorced and they're, like not wanting that divorce or whatever, angry or upset or whatever, they have, were more emotional. So they come in with their emotions like, I'm gonna take everything you have, you know what I mean? So he's like, I would get a prenup for that reason too, because he's like, I just want to get in, get out, and be done. And she's like, I'm taking this, I'm taking that, I'm taking, you know what I mean? And like, so he's like, that's another thing too. Um, and then the last guy I asked, I'm like, would you get a prenup if you were to get married? And he goes, yes, but he's like, I probably will never get married. And I go, well, why'd you say that? He's like, because I don't want to get married. And I said, well, why don't you want to get married? And he said he thinks that marriage puts more stress on a relationship.
Hmm.
And he said that all of his friends that he knows that are married are unhappy,
Hmm.
and that friends that aren't married are like way happier in their life. And he says he just feels like it puts a strain on the relationship, marriage. And so he's like, why would we need to get married when it's just like a piece of paper? So it was interesting to hear all these
Yeah.
men views.
Gosh, I mean, that is a whole conversation I would love to have in a whole separate episode, girl, because I have a couple friends that are also in long-term relationships, and I'm talking years and years and years, and they have felt like very similar. Like, I love not having that piece of paper, making things complicated in a way. But recently, they've also shared with me how not having that piece of paper makes things complicated in different ways.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and especially when it comes to like, let's say one of them something happens to, the guy, he passes away and she's technically not, what is it, next of kin or whatever.
Mhm.
And so now she's thinking about, well, like I have family members that are, his family members might, or his kids might do this, do that. And technically
Mhm.
that piece of
Sitting
paper
back and
is,
nothing, and you've been with him like forever, and yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I mean, that's awful to think like that could happen.
yeah, I definitely think there's some pros and cons to it all. But this older guy you're talking about is cracking me up. Because then I was thinking the same thing could happen too if the woman is like, okay, I'm out. And the man is like, no, but I want to stay. And then he's like, I'm
Yeah.
going to take this, this, and this.
Well, and that's what I told him. I said, I'm living proof of that. Because I was like, I'm the one that wanted a divorce. I'm like, granted, I didn't have anything that he could take, but I'm like, he made my life a living hell. And I told him when we were going to get divorced, I was like, please, begging him, like, I just want it to be amicable. Like, please, like, we don't, and I told him, we don't need to get lawyers. We don't need to do anything. Like, we can split this, split that. And then he started getting, a little bit crazier with it. And I said, look, I said, I still want this to be amicable. I was like, I'll leave you with everything. I don't even care. I don't even want anything. I just want a divorce. And
Hmm.
that's what I kept saying. And then, of course, he's like, okay, okay. And I was shocked because, I mean, he obviously lied to me, but in that moment, he's like, okay, I want that too. I just want it to be amicable. Like, I'm so sorry. I love you. Blah, 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 blah. And then fast forward, a month, 2 months, 3 months and he's making my life a living hell, getting a lawyer, harassing me, all these things. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I told you. So I told the guy I interviewed, I was like, look, I told him I just want it amicable. I want to get in, get out, be done. You could take everything. And that still wasn't enough for him. So I was like,
Exactly.
it could go both ways, honey.
Really? And I think that's the beautiful thing about a prenup is it takes that emotion out. So going into, if God forbid, the divorce happens, now we've got an emotionless contract
Mhm.
where we've already come into this with a mindset of it's going to be this way, and we can part ways, hopefully more amicably.
And I love that you said that because I heard that I was listening to a podcast as well, and it wasn't really about prenups, but he had touched on that part, and he said exactly what you said. It takes the emotion out of it because it is better to get a prenup when you guys are happy and in love, and he wants to provide for you and be there for you, and vice versa. You want to provide for him and be there for him. And 9 times out of 10, it'll be you guys will both agree on this prenup and it'll be healthy. And, but if you guys don't have that prenup and you get to the point of divorce, like I mean,
It can go, ooh, a
it,
million
yeah,
ways south.
it could go a million ways south. Yeah, you are on your own and it will not be pretty. So, no. Yeah, so that's a massive point that you do.
Juicy,
Yeah.
juicy topic.
Yeah. That what you said earlier too, like we don't want like the sound of prenup makes like, oh, we're gonna get divorced. It's that like superstitious, like, are
Yeah.
you manifesting this before it's even done, you know? So that is where my mind goes
Mhm.
almost immediately. Like, what do you mean? Like, we're not get like that's not what we're gonna do. Like, I'm not marrying you to get a divorce. So why do we need a game plan? Why aren't we focusing on like, let's make a contract on how we're gonna be the best marriage, you
I
know?
love
Like,
that idea. You can have both. So here's our prenup, and then here's that. We need a word for it.
yeah.
A different kind of adventure. What else? What do we want to happen? Here's our vision board. There you go.
Decisions, like maybe that's just me, I don't know, but don't
Yeah.
put it out there. Don't put the bad juju out there.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, that was a nice little juicy segment, ladies. Thank you for your thoughts and opinions. And yeah,
Yes, girl. And again, TBD, put a pin in the pros, cons. I think we did a little episode already on marriage, but
We could probably talk about marriage all
yeah, we
day.
literally,
we could do a questionnaire for our listeners too.
Yeah.
And yeah, let us know, listeners, how do you feel about prenups? Are you pro prenup, con prenup? I mean, we want to know.
Yeah.
Give us the dates.
Until next time.
Yay, yay. Okay, bye, ladies. Have fun in Tokyo, Britt.
Yes. Can't
Mhm.
wait to talk to you about your trip when you come back.
Yes,
Yes,
girl.
ladies.
Bye.
Bye.